Jeff the Killer. Just the name alone is enough to send a chill down your spine. If you've spent any time exploring the dark corners of the internet, you've probably stumbled upon the pale, smiling face staring at you with unblinking eyes and the haunting words, "Go to sleep." But who exactly is Jeff the Killer? Where did his story come from? And why has it become one of the most infamous creepypastas of all time? Today, we're going to dive deep into the disturbing tale, exploring the origins of Jeff's legend, his transformation, and the lasting impact he's had on horror culture online. The story begins with a seemingly ordinary boy named Jeff. He wasn't born a monster. In fact, in most versions of the tale, Jeff is described as a fairly normal teenager. Maybe a little quiet, maybe a little shy, but overall just your average kid. He moves to a new neighborhood with his family, along with his brother Lou. Things seem like they might be turning around for them. A fresh start, a new place, and the kind of suburban calm that makes you think nothing bad could possibly happen. But of course, in stories like this, the calm is only the silence before the storm. It doesn't take long for trouble to arrive. Not from supernatural forces, not from ancient curses, but from something all too familiar. Bullies. In most versions, 3 boys named Randy, Keith, and Troy become Jeff's tormentors. They start off with insults, but quickly escalate to physical attacks. And here's where Jeff's story starts to twist into something far darker than anyone could have predicted. One day, Jeff is cornered by the bullies, and instead of backing down, something snaps inside him. He fights back, harder than anyone expected. It's almost as if he discovers a violent instinct buried deep within, something he didn't even know he had. He beats the bullies severely, defending himself but also crossing a line. For a moment, Jeff feels something he's never felt before. Exhilaration. Power. A rush of adrenaline that borders on euphoria. This moment becomes a turning point. From here, Jeff is no longer the same boy. His parents start to notice changes in him. He smiles more, but not in the cheerful way you'd expect. It's a strange, unsettling grin that never quite seems to fade. He grows restless, impatient, and unpredictable. It's as though violence has awakened something inside him, and once it's out, it refuses to go back into hiding. The real descent begins at a party. The bullies return for revenge, bringing knives with them. A fight breaks out and Jeff once again unleashes his brutality. But this time, he isn't the one who walks away unscathed. In the struggle, Jeff is doused with alcohol, and when flames ignite, his entire body is set ablaze. His screams echo through the night as fire consumes his skin, leaving him scarred beyond recognition. He spends weeks recovering in the hospital. His face is burned, his skin pale, his eyelids damaged to the point where he can no longer close his eyes fully. His mother begs the doctors to help, but Jeff insists he likes it this way. He stares into the mirror at his new appearance, ashen skin, lidless eyes, and a permanent, grotesque smile carved into his face. Depending on the version of the story, he either cuts the smile himself with a knife or claims the fire left him with it. Either way, he embraces the look fully, telling his mother, "I couldn't stop smiling. It just fits me now." This is the birth of the figure we all recognize, Jeff the Killer. Pale face, wide carved smile, dark, soulless eyes. A human being transformed into something monstrous, not by magic or possession, but by his own choices, his trauma, and his growing obsession with violence. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, it only gets worse. Because Jeff's first true act as the killer is not against strangers or enemies. It's against his own family. Late one night, he sneaks into his parents' room, standing over them as they sleep. His mother wakes to find him smiling down at her. He whispers the phrase that has become infamous, "Go to sleep." Then he slaughters them without mercy. His brother Lou, the one person who cared for him most, tries to escape, but Jeff kills him too. By the time the sun rises, the house is silent, drenched in the aftermath of Jeff's insanity. From there, Jeff becomes an urban legend. He lurks in the shadows, sneaking into the rooms of unsuspecting victims. The last thing they ever hear is his chilling whisper, "Go to sleep." And then, silence. The internet took this tale and ran with it, transforming Jeff into one of the most recognizable faces in creepypasta history. But part of what makes Jeff's story so unsettling is how grounded it feels. There are no haunted dolls, no cursed videotapes, no ancient rituals. Just a boy who breaks under pressure, consumed by his own dark impulses, and transformed into a figure of horror. That's what makes him terrifying. He represents the idea that anyone could snap, that under the wrong circumstances, the person next door could become a monster. Of course, Jeff's rise to fame wasn't without controversy. The infamous photo that often accompanies his story, pale skin, wide smile, dark hair, has its own strange history. Some claim it originated from a photoshopped image of a woman. Others argue it was pulled from early internet shock content. No one really knows for certain, which only adds to the mystery. The image became so iconic that even people who don't know the story of Jeff the Killer recognize the face. Over the years, countless variations of Jeff's story have popped up. Some versions paint him as a tragic anti-hero, forced into violence by bullying and abuse. Others lean fully into his role as a merciless killer, stalking victims simply for the thrill of it. Fan art, fan fiction, and spin-offs flooded forums like Creepypasta Wiki, Tumblr, and DeviantArt. Jeff became more than just a character. He became a symbol of early internet horror culture. He even got rivals. Other creepypasta characters like Slender Man, Eyeless Jack, and Laughing Jack were often paired up against him in fan battles, crossover stories, and even YouTube animations. People debated who would win in fights, creating entire universes where these digital boogeymen existed together. Jeff, with his knife and his haunting smile, became a staple in this shared nightmare world. And let's not forget the phrase, "Go to sleep." Simple, chilling, and effective. It turned Jeff from just another fictional character into a legend. It's the kind of catchphrase that sticks in your mind, the kind that makes you glance over your shoulder when the lights are out and your room is too quiet. But perhaps the real reason Jeff the Killer remains so iconic is the age at which most people first encountered him. For many, Jeff was their first brush with creepypasta, read late at night on a glowing computer screen, heart pounding as they stared at the distorted face. It's the kind of experience that sticks with you, no matter how much time passes. Today, Jeff the Killer is less about the original story and more about the legacy. He's been remixed, rewritten, parodied, and reimagined countless times. Some people find him cheesy, Others still find him terrifying. But one thing is certain: he remains one of the most enduring creations of internet horror. And maybe that's because Jeff taps into something universal. We've all felt anger. We've all fantasized, even just for a fleeting second, about getting revenge on someone who hurt us. Jeff is the embodiment of what happens when you take those feelings and let them consume you completely. He's the nightmare version of that dark little thought in the back of your mind, the whisper that says, "What if you didn't hold back?" Of course, Jeff isn't real. He's a story, a digital ghost passed around on forums and YouTube videos, whispered about in school cafeterias and sleepovers. But like all good horror legends, he lingers. Every time you see that pale face and wide smile, you're reminded of the boy who snapped, who became something inhuman, and who might be waiting in the shadows whispering those 3 words: "Go to sleep." Because in the end, that's what Jeff the Killer is all about. He's not just a character, he's a feeling. The feeling of unease when you're alone at night. The sense that maybe someone is watching you. The memory of being a kid, scrolling through creepy stories online, unable to look away even though you knew you'd regret it later. He is internet folklore at its finest. So whether you see him as a tragic figure, a monstrous villain, or just a cheesy relic of early creepypasta days, there's no denying the impact Jeff the Killer has had on horror. His story has been retold for over a decade, and even now, new fans discover him every day. And maybe that's the most chilling part. Because while the internet moves fast and trends die quickly, Jeff has managed to stay. That smile, those eyes, and that whisper. They've cemented his place in the digital hall of nightmares. So tonight, when you turn off the lights and your room is quiet, just remember, Jeff the Killer might be nothing more than a story, but stories have a way of sticking with us. And somewhere out there, on the edge of your imagination, he's still smiling, still waiting, still whispering, "Go to sleep."